What we saw on Saturday's embarrassing loss to UConn was an absolute new low point for Boston College and Bill O'Brien.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Locked On Boston College, your team every day. I'm your host, AJ Black of Eagle Insider, part of the 247 Network. I've been covering Boston College for over a decade. If you're looking for Boston College news, analysis, and details, you are in the right place. We are a free daily Boston College podcast available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Today's show, this is your post-game BC and UConn discussion, and my goodness, was this an embarrassment. BC, what we're going to talk about on today's show. BC's defense completely looked out of place. The team itself just looked hapless. And Grayson James had his moments, but he's not going to be the answer because there's still bigger issues with this program. So let's jump into this. As we said on our show this week, I said going into, I tried to prep you guys. I picked UConn to win this game. You know, we watched 2 weeks of BC just playing absolutely terrible football against Pitt and Clemson. And yeah, you can make the excuse that they're playing a good team. It's hard to play, you know, against Clemson or Pitt or whatever. There were bigger issues when you were watching that. You knew it wasn't just the opponent that you were playing against. And when I saw, like, you know, the tackling and the issues that were coming up, I was saying to myself, this game against UConn is not going to be easy, and I don't think they're going to win this. And I was right. Now, going into this game, I also predicted correctly that Grayson James was going to be the starter. I thought they needed a new shot in the arm. Some people disagree, and hey, if you don't think that he should have been the starter on Saturday, that's fine too. But they needed something, and he did his best. But the big issues are still there. And losing to UConn, I don't care, you know, how good they are, you know, how, you know, they've got a great wide receiver in Skylar Bell that's transferred from Wisconsin. You cannot lose games like this if you're Boston College. This is a complete inexcusable loss. I'm sorry, it is. You can say whatever you want about injuries or the talent on the other side or just struggles or young players or whatever you want. Losing to UConn is inexcusable. It was inexcusable in 2022, and it's inexcusable today. There's no other way around it. Watching what we saw, there's bigger issues going on than what, you know, than I think any of us thought going into the season. Yes, you lost Bam Crouch. Yes, you lost Amari Jackson and Syer Torrance. But when you have young players out there making mistakes, that's bad. They don't look very well coached. Watch it. How many plays did Fagnano throw the football, and it was like they were taking terrible angles at the wide receivers. There was guys wide open. They run right by guys that were like making terrible arm tackles. That's a big issue, and it wasn't just the youth. That's the part that's really scary about this. KP Price made big mistakes. Owen McGowan, who looks like he's playing on one leg, made mistakes. Like, those are your veteran leaders. You can't have those types of big mistakes against UConn. If Owen McGowan's out there trying to cover an Antonio Williams, yeah, that might happen. But when you're playing against UConn, that should not happen. So I don't understand. And clearly Bill O'Brien doesn't know either, because he keeps saying, if I knew what the problem was, I would fix it. I don't have an easy answer to this. All I know is that Boston College is now 1-6. We, you know, talk about pie on my face. We talked about this season. I had them at 6-6, and some of you guys are getting mad at me about that. But there's other people who had them at 9-3, 8-4. I saw all sorts of stuff out there. So it's not just me. But the bigger issue, it seems like a systemic issue to me. It doesn't seem like, oh, it's just this one injury that's killing BC, or this is one thing. It's like a big talent problem for Boston College right now. Every team has injuries. I don't want to see that as an excuse. It stinks when you lose your key linebacker. It stinks when you lose, you know, two key cornerbacks. Yeah, that's tough. But look at, you know, some of you have seen the availability reports for ACC games, and you see the BC thing and go, whoa, what the heck is going on with Boston College? And I say to you, and I've said it over and over again, this happens at every school. It's not just a BC thing. Football's a violent sport. Guys get hurt. There's nothing. Craig Fitzgerald can't wave a magic wand and get guys from getting hurt. He can keep them from getting dinged up here and there, but it's going to happen. And look at the Syracuse. What was it? Pitt, and would Pitt play Syracuse? I forget who's Pitt played, but both those teams had huge injury lists, so they have the same problem. And hey, they're able to put together an offense. They're able to put together a defense. Why can't Boston College? There is a serious talent issue going on here at a variety of levels, whether it's the coaching staff. I mean, how many more games are we going to watch the secondary who has guys that should be? I mean, Marcus Upton was very highly recruited. You have Ashton Cunningham, who was talented, and TJ Green, who is, should be a good, decent enough player. And then you have like some, guys like Isaiah Ferris and Max Tucker. They look completely lost out there. And I'm not going to get mad. I'm not going to get mad about this. I'm going to say what I really think. It's disheartening. It's just really sad to watch. I was, at the stadium today. This is the new thing, right? So like, it's impacting every aspect of this team again. It feels like we're back into year 3 of Jeff Hafley all over again, but we just kind of fast forwarded with Bill O'Brien, where, you get into the stadium, it's dead. Everyone stays outside and, are tailgating late. They show up closer to halftime and then they leave in the third quarter. When they do Mr. Brightside in the third quarter, all fans leave, and I don't blame them. It's a bad product right now. From the offense to the defense. Now, the offense tried some new things. Obviously, you had Grayson James in there. But the offensive line, they tried some new things there, too. They took out Jude Bowery. I'm guessing, he was in street clothes. I'm guessing he gets banged up. You took out Eric Doherty. And I don't know what that was about, but Robert Smith played. And you had a combination of Tommy Matheson and Judah Pruitt at different times. It was not pretty. The pass protection was bad. They had 7 sacks in this game. Now, the run attack was great. The first half, that running attack, led by Jordan McDonald and Turbo Richard, who is also now hurt, lovely, looked good. McDonald looked like the McDonald we saw last year. Then all of a sudden, the second half hit, and how many times this season have we seen this? The second half hits, and BC turns into a ghost. It happened again. BC was able to run the ball effectively that first half. And then all of a sudden now it's Grayson James, hucka chucka football for the last 2 quarters. And he's getting sacked. He's having a hard time making reads. He's having all these issues out there. They tried a few times to get McDonald the ball again, but it was too late. The momentum, and it didn't help that every time the defense had to go out there, they let up, big points. It's so disheartening. And I said before, and I'll say it again, like, I don't know what has to change. I really don't. Like, I'm not into this, let's drop to the Patriot League and, but whatever. That's not a serious conversation. But the serious conversation we'll have later in the show is, what does Boston College have to do to fix this? Because you can't just keep tracking this out here like this. And yeah, you won 7 games in that last year, but how are you going to get to that next level? How are you going to improve? Because we're now entering 15 years. We're almost in through 4 full classes of 15 classes of kids that have never seen BC be successful. They don't even know what it's like. So you got to fix that. Now, in a moment, I got more to talk about. Man, do I have more to talk about. We'll get into all that in just a moment. It's almost the weekend, time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you could win every Saturday with DoorDash Streak, saving more every time you order. These players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. For the UConn Huskies, Joe Fagnato delivered in a big way. He had 4 total touchdowns against BC, and he was unstoppable. When BC, started to come back or took a lead, he answered every single time for the Huskies. Just like Fagnato, delivered for the Huskies, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays with DoorDash Streaks. You save every Saturday you order. Stack it up all season, and you can save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through 11/18. When the ordering whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. Need parts fast for a project? Supply House has next-day delivery. Talk about a game changer. And their Trademaster perks like priority shipping and dedicated support make the whole process smoother. Join the free Trademaster program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. Locked On Boston College, AJ Black here. Thank you all who have made Locked On Boston College your first listen every single day. And to my everydayers out there, I appreciate each and every one of you. I know it's not easy this season. They're now 1-6. I can't believe that at this point, on October 18th, Boston College is 1-6. And I look at what's coming up ahead. I don't see a win. Unless something drastic changes, who are they going to beat? Louisville just beat Miami, the number 2 team in the country. They look great. Notre Dame, that's not happening. Georgia Tech, top 15 team in the country. They are playing great. Like, can you see them stopping Haynes King or SMU with Kevin Jennings? Who's going to stop them? This is getting bad. You have Syracuse. That's probably your only chance. And you got to do it on the road, which you've shown you that this team has really struggled with. I hate to be a Debbie Downer about this. Everything, the floating trash barrel on fire thing is what it feels like right now because everything's on fire. The entire ship's on fire. O'Brien said, it's a great question, and if I could fix it, I would. I kind of believe him because I don't know what do you fix first? The offensive line, which I almost died laughing when PFF had them as one of the top 5 in the country. I mean, yes, I know they had some good pass blocking, but look at what they did today. It was the run blocking that was good, but the pass blocking was atrocious. I don't know there. Is it that you fix? Is the secondary? The secondary looks like it's miles away from being anything that's going to stop anybody. Pass rush. Where's the pass rush? And O'Brien says this again. You do not have anybody who can pass rush at all on the front 4. So you continually have to keep blitzing. You have to continually send extra guys. And then your secondary, who is really struggling with every piece of their defense, is left in these islands and they just get torched. I don't understand how, yes, I know you have young guys, and yes, I get you have FCS guys, but you got a guy like Edwin Kalengi. He's been around for years. Josiah Griffin, this is year number 3 for him. I don't even see him. Clive Wilson, this is year number 3 for him. How do none of these, and Quintavious Hutchins of all of them, how do none of these guys get any pass rush at all? How do you get guys for edge rushers, and none of them can get any effective pass rush? It's a mind-blowing thing to watch. None of them can do it. Favor Bate, Anya Nuisi, Ella Boykin. It's just like they could just plug and play whoever, and none of them can get at the quarterback. That's rough. I also look at the defensive tackle position and go, whoa, what happened to the depth there? Owen Stodmeyer's out. Quan Williams is out. Ty Clemens is out. You have Michael Bumpus playing massive snaps. This is a transfer from Brown. You have Ced McConnell. And then, again, you have guys like Chris Marable. But none of them can do anything close to what you had last year. It's a serious talent issue going on here. They don't have it. And I go back to what happened before. Why they don't have the talent. I don't know if something drastically changed with the NIL program at BC or how BC attracted, deals with paying for transfers. But the difference between what Jeff Hafley did and what Bill O'Brien did is very distinct. The winter program for BC, I go back to this every time, was filled with flyers, guys that you wanted to develop, but really you probably thought it was going to take a little bit of time. At least I hope they thought that. We're going to take a little time. But then you get guys like Chuck Nato and Anya Nuisi who only have 1 year. So I don't know what their plan was. They had not played Power 5 football. And they really didn't do all that much at the FCS level either. So you went in and you kind of missed on the portal. You didn't add any depth of guys that could really jump in and do much. While a guy like Hafley, say what you will about him, but he did a good job of getting guys here. You could go back for the years and years, and whether they were great or not, when you bring in a guy like Ryan Turner or Kari Johnson or Isaiah Graham Mobley, these guys all they all did things for the defense. O'Brien didn't get any of that. It was a huge miss because he tried to, I don't know if it was, again, I don't know what the deal is with that. I'm just saying the guys that they brought in did not hit, and it's causing problems big time right now. So I look at the rest of this team. You have the freshmen out there, but I go back to this. I go back to this big question. Like, he keeps talking about how he wants to make things better. It seems like everything's going backwards. Like the problems that we saw start to peak it, like everything that we see with the Michigan State game. It just got worse and worse and worse until the dam exploded. Now the dam is erupted and everything is chaos now. That is a big, big problem. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I'm at a loss for words. I have watched, say what you will about how I think about things. It's my perspective. I've watched a ton, and I know some of you guys have too, a ton of football, a ton of BC football. Some of you go back way before me, and I credit to you for being part of that. But I go back to like the Tom O'Brien eras, but I'm thinking more in like the last 20 years. I've seen a ton of bad BC football. I couldn't in my wildest dreams pick that this team this year would be the worst team that I've seen BC put on the field in, arguably in any span of that. From the offense to the defense, nothing is working. Nothing. It's all messed up right now. And it's crazy because you lost a few players. And yes, Donovan Ezaraku was, an All-American, so that's tough. And you lost a Cam Horsley and a couple offensive linemen. But that you didn't either have someone on your roster or somebody went out shopping in the portal to fix that, it makes it that much harder. You shouldn't, like, when you have a Lewis Bond and a Grayson James, who's fine last year, nothing wrong with that, to go along with a Jeremiah Franklin and, some of the guys on your defense that were still floating around, like a Quintavious Hutchins. Yeah, maybe you take a small step back, go to 5-7, 6-6. But to have the floor bottom out on you like this is incredible. It's the only way to put it. I go back to 2012. I think that was the last year of Spaz. That team was awful, and you had Frank Spaziani as the head coach, and we all just kind of marked it off as like, Spaz was a long-time defensive coordinator. Maybe he just wasn't ready for it. You brought in Bill O'Brien, an experienced head coach at the pro and college level, to prevent these things from happening, and it's happening again. I don't know. Bill says he's lost. I'm lost too. I just don't know what to do. I don't know what answers you can give, what answers need to be, like what questions they can address, and how this does not happen again next year. In a moment, I'm going to talk about what Boston College really needs to do. I'll get into that in just a moment. What do you get when you have a bald eagle standing on top of a silverback gorilla riding a T-Rex? Confidence, pure confidence. And if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rougiette Go Long. That's exactly where Rougiette Go Long comes on. It's just like Viagra, Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them, but if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, you need to go with Rougiette Go Long. Go Long combines 2 doctor-trusted medications in one dual-action formula, so you can go to the distance with effects that last up to 36 hours. That's confidence all day, all night, and even into the next day. Ready to level up your confidence in the bedroom? Head to Rougiette, RUGIET.com and use promo code LockedOnCollege for 15% off your first order. That's RUGIET.com, promo code LockedOnCollege. Make sure to use our code so they know we sent you. Locked On Boston College, AJ Black of Eagle Insider, and thank you all who have made us your first listen and to our everydayers. Appreciate all of you. We're wrapping things up here, and I just want to say, like, as I left BC, and there were UConn fans everywhere going 1-6, 1-6. It really showed where this program is right now. That is so sad. It was everywhere. Like, all the BC fans had cleared out. UConn fans, they made it their stadium. And just the feel of that team is just gone. It's just gone. You know, you can continue to think that maybe they'll figure out a way to get this going, but it's not there. And already, many of us, many of you, have already written off the rest of the season. And I don't blame you. I really don't. I find it ironic that in a year like this is when they decide to unveil the premium boxes that are going to cost like $6,000 a ticket. Great timing on that, right? So where does BC go from here? Obviously, there's 2 levels of changes they can move at the end of the season. The smaller changes would be with the staff, and honestly, there's issues within the staff that I think they should take a strong, hard look at. First of all, recruiting. You have a guy like Darryl White, who's a pretty solid recruiter. You've got Jonathan DiBiase, who's done solid locally, but you don't have an ace recruiter. You know, you look at a team like Syracuse, and they've got that defensive line coach that came from Texas A&M. Like, he's an ace recruiter. You don't have anything like that because you went with the pro style. You brought a bunch of pro guys in, and none of them are really experienced. They have experienced recruiters, but they're not like an ace. Like, you know the guys out there that can do that kind of stuff. Don Brown was that for a while. Al Washington was for years. You need a guy like that. So that could be something you look at. You need to, if I was Bill O'Brien, either now or at the end of the season, you need to look at every member of your staff. Decide what you really need, what you really want for this for the 2026 season. Whether it's someone who defensively has a different scheme, maybe fits better with what you're doing. Someone on, a positional coach that does things a different way, whether it's the offensive line or the secondary. I don't know. You need to look at each one. That he needs to make a decision. He needs to sit down with every single position and look at what if they're working or if he needs to move on. That's going to be the case. And I believe most positional coaches, I think I've heard, are on like 1 or 2 year contracts. So it wouldn't be a big deal to do that. I think that might be something he needs to do. I think obviously the bigger change, everyone's going to talk about it, is whether Bill O'Brien gets moved on. I don't know. That's not here or there. I'm going to say that it's a conversation we can have at some point. Right now, things are grim. It does not look like things are getting better. And you can like him, you can hate him. We'll have a conversation more about that later. But I'm not going to get into the fire Bill O'Brien discussion yet. And it's not because I think he's doing a great job, because obviously it's not. I just don't want to get into that right now. The bigger issue, though, and it feels like many of you have discussed it, many people have brought it up, I have talked about it at length, is the support of this program from BC itself. This offseason, Father Leahy is continuing to wind down as president of BC. We all know that he supports Boston College athletics. But come on, be honest. The amount of money that the school puts into these programs for most of them is nowhere near what other ACC programs get. And BC has the money to do better. You don't need to do a huge thing where like all of a sudden you're paying. I mean, if you want to go for it, but like you just need to push more money into it so that you can make more money. It's a simple equation. I don't know why Boston College doesn't get this. The school, not the coaches. If you put more money in, you're going to win more football games. And if you win more football games, you'll get more money, which you then could put into more football games. And boom, you've got a program. Do that. Father Butler, if he's listening, please, 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 please support this team even more. Because you can't just, whether it's NIL money or paying for the staff, you need to be able to support them at the level of a school like Pitt, a school like Duke, a school, I don't know what Wake Forest, but Syracuse. Like these schools, you can do that. It's not like it's going to break the bank, and it will make your program look better. You'll bring in more fans, and boom, you solve your own problems. So my hope is once Father Leahy, is finished with his tenure at Boston College, that BC really, really relooks at how they deal with NIL. Because this offseason, if Bill O'Brien is the coach next year, and I have no reason to think he won't be, he needs to be able to go out there and get talent. And talent that's going to perform immediately. Because he cannot go out there and you're going to get guys hurt. And if the guys behind them are just not ready, you're going to lose a whole bunch of games. And 2026 is going to be a lost season. So he needs the financial support and the resources to go into the portal and be aggressive. Because I'm going to tell you, they're saying right now that everything's positive, but if you go 1-11, the guys are going to leave. It's going to happen. It's hard to stay on board when everything goes off the rails and you're one of the worst teams in college football. It's hard. And he's not a miracle worker. As much as he might have the feeling that he can put everything together, he can't do everything. BC needs to, whether it's for him or if they do go up to another coach, they need to up their game. Support more. Give them more money. Do what Syracuse is doing. Syracuse is not, they're probably, I don't know what the numbers are, but they're able to bring in a splash guy here and there. They brought in Steve Angeli, who was great, and he's going to probably kick BC's butt for the next 2 years. They brought in some good wide receivers. They've been able to do some things like that. That's all BC needs. They need a guy, a president that sees that kind of piece and O'Brien, the ability to, or whoever's the coach, to go out there and bring in staff that are going to support that. That's as simple as it gets. BC I saw Halfley say something about how, and I'll talk about this another time, how he couldn't stay at BC because he was developing guys and they were all leaving, which is a load of baloney because he didn't lose any guys. He lost Jason Maitre and Josh DeBerry, and that was about it. But this exodus of players that he's talking about is a load of baloney because one thing BC has done pretty well is keep the guys that they want to keep here. They kept Drew Kendall. They kept Audrey Trapillo, Donovan Azaraku, Zay Flowers. They kept them happy. They stayed here. They can continue to do that part of it. They need to be able to entice guys to come here more. And that can be freshmen and that can be transfers. Those pieces need to improve if Boston College is going to improve on the amount of talent they have. It's great that you got a guy like Lewis Bond. He's fun to watch. And heck, Reed Harris had a great catch. But when you have a linebacker, when you have KP Price playing linebacker because you have no one left, that's a problem. When you have your entire secondary being true freshmen, that's another problem. You need to be able to support that. That's a Boston College issue. And again, every one of you BC fans out there need to have your fingers crossed, your toes crossed, and you're saying your prayers and your Hail Marys and your Our Fathers that Father Jack is going to re-envision how this goes because it's going to be absolutely critical for Boston College to take that next step. Yeah, I get mad watching it too. I get mad at the coaching staff, but I think you all watch that and deep down in your soul that some of it's the coaching, some of it's the players, but a lot of it's BC. And BC needs to fix this. Whew, sorry. It was a tough game to watch. I'm sure a lot of you saw it too. And hey, I had time where I kind of went around BC and I saw a few of you who shouted me out too. So if you saw me and waved hi, thank you. It was great seeing you guys out there. And we'll be back again tomorrow where Mitch will be on. And I promise you he won't. I can't promise you anything. I'm assuming he won't be wearing his Joker makeup, but he's going to have a lot to talk about. But an embarrassing loss, another tough one for BC. And it just like the floor just continues to get lower and lower and lower. Where it stops, nobody knows. This is AJ Black. Follow me on Twitter at AJ Black247. You can check me out on YouTube, on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok. I'm on everything. Check us all out. I'll see you again tomorrow for another episode of Locked On Boston College. Your team every day.